is Case from Q101. This is A Case For, a show in which I have coerced management and letting me talk to my favorite bands. And with me today is a big one, the voice of the first ever podcast, the man behind the Secret Voice record label, the vision behind the highly underrated Hesitation Wounds band, and of course, the frontman of the iconic Touché Amoré. I am joined by Jeremy Bolm. Jeremy, how are you?
That was the nicest intro I've ever had. That was not only was that professional, it was very flattering. Thank you.
I'm going to give you a lot of compliments in this interview. They're all genuine. And I feel like sometimes when I talk to people that I like, because that's almost the pressure of this show is, by and large, I'm talking to people that I'm really into, and I give a lot of compliments, and I always want to make it known and make it clear that they are genuine and that I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us in Q101 today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's absolutely my pleasure.
Good. Well, welcome back to Chicago. A lot of people that are going to watch this are going to be intimately familiar with you, and they're going to want to hear about Touché Amoré, but there's a contingent of Q101 listeners that check into a show like this to hear about new bands, and I figured the way that maybe we introduce you to them is to talk about growing up in L.A. The venue there, the Troubadour, used to host some... Were they free or just very low-priced local shows?
So what you're describing, yeah. So growing up, especially when I was early high school, they had a thing at the Troubadour, which was if you were over 21, which I was not, they were free. Mm-hmm. But if you're under 21, they were $3. And it was the height of nu metal breaking. And there was a lot of local bands that were, just getting signed or like being discovered. So this is the time I was seeing bands like System of a Down and like Linkin Park when they were called Hybrid Theory, Alien Ant Farm, like anyone from that, Papa Roach, anyone from that world, were all coming to LA to do these showcase shows. So, I was a latchkey kid. My mom was really open to letting me kind of run wild because, she knew I didn't have any interest in doing drugs or drinking. So it was just like, he's going out with his friend. He's not flunking out of school, but he's getting through it. So I was able to do that every single week, and it was a big eye-opening experience.
Are there any bands that play those Troubadour shows where in the moment in the crowd you go, these guys are going to be massive, and you were able to correctly predict the future?
Oh, that's a funny question. System of a Down is pretty undeniable. They had it from the get-go, where it was just like, we got to credit them always for being a band that got blast beats on the radio. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, very much so.
Like, that is, I don't think they get credit enough for that. Mm-hmm. They snuck blast beats on the radio, and that's the coolest thing in the entire world. So,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, if they were able to do that, they can do anything.
That's right. Well, you're playing the Bottom Lounge in Chicago tonight. This interview will be out a few weeks after this, but I was telling the person that helped us set this interview up that I'm a little emotional about tonight's show because my first hardcore show was you guys at the Bottom Lounge in this room. It was 2018. You guys were on tour with Turnstile, and I very shamefully noted to the person that I was talking to that in 2018, I did not care about Turnstile. To me, that was a Touché Amoré show. Yeah. I was there to see you guys. You guys were the first contemporary heavy hardcore band that I got into because growing up, it was like, all right, there's the 80s DC stuff, there's the Rev Summer stuff, and if you like ingest hardcore through American hardcore and like the Salad Days doc, you would almost think that hardcore ceased to exist after like 1989. And so it wasn't until I was a junior in high school that somebody put me on to you guys, and then I was a freshman in college when I saw you here. All that being said, it was the first time that I was ever in like a really big pit. It was a very intense moment for me, and I'm just curious if you remember the first pit that you were in.
Oh my God. Wow. That's not where I was expecting that question to go. Okay. Firstly, this is my way of searching for an answer while also saying that's really cool that you were at that show. That was a really fun tour.
That was a very fun show.
That was a very fun tour. Okay. First pit. You know what? It's probably not. I went to some early Ozfests.
Okay.
Something tells me that I probably snuck my way in there. Probably just like on the corner though, Probably like during like Fear Factory or something. I was like, yeah, I made it. I went in. Or like, I saw Slipknot's first show in California. Which they were the first band on the small stage at Ozfest. My friends and I were like right up front. So I probably, ran around there a little bit. Something like that.
Yeah.
That probably sounds about right.
It's a really triumphant feeling to feel like you survived your first pit, where it's like, all right, you guys are doing, honestly, whatever. And as I was in, and then I was out, I was like, oh my God, I'm okay. Nothing's hurt. This is This is why I'm going to go to every show from now on. It's a really rewarding feeling.
It's like the feeling when you're a little kid and you run through the sprinklers. You know what I'm saying? Like you got a little wet, but you survived it. You're not soaked. You can still go home, not get in trouble for being soaking wet.
There you go.
It's kind of the same. You run into the pit, you kind of run out, and you're like, I didn't get knocked out. I'm
Waylaid,
good.
yeah.
I'm good. Yeah.
Well, the new record is out, Spiral in a Straight Line. It's your 6th LP. I was telling you before we started recording, forget hardcore bands, forget punk bands. I think there are very few bands in existence that have 6 great LPs, and I feel very confident in saying that you have accomplished that. So first of all, congratulations on that.
I appreciate it.
How good does it feel to be done with this, to have it out, to have it in the world, to be touring this album now?
Oh, very good. The album rollout, it's probably my least favorite part because there's so much like expectation and hope and concern that things are going to go right and worry that the algorithm's going to give it to all the people. Like there's so many things that are at risk when you're finally putting something out and you just hope that it lands on the right ears, you know? And also you're excited because you've worked so hard on this thing and you're so excited for people to hear it, but then you're like, I hope they like it. There's just so much stuff like that that goes into the album rollout. So now that it's out and we're getting to play the songs live for the first time, it feels great.
How has the album rollout process changed since you've been putting out music? Like, let's say not To the Beat of a Dead Horse, but maybe Parting the Sea, because you had a little bit of a following by that point. How is it different putting out an album now compared to 2011?
All right, so Parting the Sea, we purposefully leaked our own album.
Classic.
There was a website called it-leaked.com, I think it was, and we were about to go on tour with Title Fight. It was a summer tour. They had just released Shed, so it was Title Fight, Touché, Menzingers, and Dead End Path.
Not a bad lineup.
Not a bad lineup. It was us, Title Fight, Menzingers, Dead End Path, and their record, I think Shed had come out maybe like 2 weeks before the tour started, and our album was going to come out maybe like a week after. And we were like, fuck that. We want people to hear it like immediately. So we leaked it ourselves, and I don't think we told Deathwish that we did that. Mm-hmm. But it was an innocent thing to do.
Of course.
We just wanted people to like know some of the stuff maybe before.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But that was the best tour. And I think the idea of leaking an album and that being a worry is a big example of how things have changed.
Completely.
Because people are just so comfortable waiting for Friday on Spotify.
Yes, which I like the new movement of people now rejecting Friday as the release day. Tyler, the Creator, was talking about this, where he's like, why are we putting stuff out on Friday? Because the weekends you casually listen to things.
Yeah.
If you put stuff out at the start of the week, then people are commuting with the album and they're taking time at night. And Jamie Coletta was just talking about this too, and I was like, no, they're on to something. We might need to readjust the way we release albums.
It used to be Tuesdays.
Exactly. Yeah.
Tuesdays was the best release day.
We're gonna move it back.
I want to.
I'm gonna talk to big shot record industry people. We're gonna change this.
Yeah, they're gonna listen to us.
Oh my God, they love me. They love all the ideas that I have of play Military Gun on the radio more. With the new album, I feel like with Lament, a lot of your press cycle was, hey, you guys worked with Ross Robinson. He's crazy. Tell us Ross Robinson stories.
Yeah.
Second time around, I have the same question. What was it like recording with him, who, for those that don't know, is responsible for the Slipknot stuff and some of the Limp Bizkit stuff? And if you liked heavy music in the late 90s, Ross Robinson's probably responsible for it. Your second go-around with him, what was that like?
You know, it's funny. When we worked with him the first time, he told us stories about how when Slipknot came for Iowa, the second record, that there was a concern that maybe they would be a little more comfortable because, we know what this is going to be like. So he pushed them extra harder. He did the same for us, where he was like, when he knew that he was going to be doing the next one, he looked me dead, like deep in my soul, and was like, we're going to go deeper this time. And I knew I was in trouble. And I was like, yeah, okay. And it was intense. I mean, he demands everything from you. And I don't think it's for the faint of heart. I don't think a lot of bands, I don't want to generalize, but I will say it's not for everybody. But if you're willing to go there, it's an experience that can't be replaced.
Can you give me a specific example? Because I know, I can't remember the exact details, but during the first, when you were recording Lament, I know we got in the vocal booth with you at one point. It was, face-to-face and saying some awfully intense things to you. Second go-around, what was his big, I'm going to torture you with this maneuver while in the recording studio? We came to an understanding on the first record to where he gave me space. We would just have really long conversations before I'd go in. And that
did continue with this record where, you know, it was still like the very therapy based. We all talk about the songs, we get in the deep of it and all of that. Before I go to track, this time it was more of the same this time around, but you know, those conversations can last anywhere between 20 minutes to 90 minutes. You know, it's just like, it's a lot of sharing. It's a lot of going very, very personal with what you're going through that day. He wants it to be as raw as possible, you know, and that can be uncomfortable for people. You know, we've had people who in the studio with us, like documenting, you can tell they're just like, I'd like to be anywhere but here right now, you know, which I get, you know, it's a very raw, visceral experience. But he's got, you know, it makes it seem like he almost has like this supervillain energy, but he really doesn't. Like no one cares more than him. You know what I'm saying? Like that's why he wants to go as hard as he does, because like when he's moved by something, like he will just start weeping. Like he is genuinely a very connected person to what he's doing, and like it's a goofy example to give, and I've said it before, but like you'll have a 13-hour day with him where you don't see him look at his phone one time. That's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like he is dialed into everything. So to work with somebody who cares that much, it's like, it's a godsend.
What was your big triumph with him recording Spiral in a Straight Line? Was there one moment where you're like, he's proud of me now, I'm making Dad proud with this line or this song or whatever it was?
There's a song called Mezzanine, and the whole outro is I'm screaming in a way that is pretty taking myself to the limit. He even recorded me doing it, like videoed me doing it. And yeah, that was probably it.
Yeah.
That was probably it. There was a moment in the studio where it went a little too far from my brain, and I ended up getting pretty sick for a week. Like my body was just like, we're done here.
Really?
And I had to take a week off because I was just, it got that far.
That's insane.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that's okay. Forgive me. So there's a song on the record called Disasters. It's track 2. And in the moment, I changed the lyrics to, it's also devastating, to wrap up the chorus. And he kept pushing. He was like, what's devastating? And I would give an example. He'd be like, what else is devastating? And that kept going and going and going. And I knew what he was trying to get at. And when I finally went there, my brain was like, you don't want to do this anymore. Go home. Like, you could walk away from this right now. But I was like, I don't want to revisit this. So I'm just going to keep neck and neck with him. And then I did the take, and I gave him what he needed, what he wanted. And I went home, and the next day I was very ill. So there you go.
That's nuts. That is. I'm glad we got the finished product, even if it resulted us in us.
I wouldn't have changed a thing.
Yeah. No. I'm glad. I'm glad the finished product is what it is.
Yeah.
I want to talk about your longevity a little bit. You know, even just a second ago, you mentioned going on tour with Title Fight, and if you look through the lineage of Touché Amoré tour posters, it's all of these sick lineups, but it's a lot of bands that have come and gone, and Touché remains this constant in this scene in heavy music. And it's maybe weird of me to ask why, but like, what keeps you guys going when other bands either, and this might sound harsh, but fail to maintain relevancy or just can't continue at the level that you continue at?
I think we know when to give each other space. And I think that space is very important. We have such a deep connection, all of us, and we love each other and we support each other in everything that we do. But we'll get home from this tour and we probably won't see each other until next year. Yeah, like we have a tour, we go to Europe in January. We're going to get home, we'll have holidays. I see Clayton at shows sometimes. I'll run in, maybe Nick and I will meet up for something, art related that we have to do. I think we have a couple things maybe planned actually towards the end of the year, but for the most part, we all have our own lives. We all have our own things that we do. Our drummer just brought a kid into the world.
Yes, congratulations, Elliot, greatest drummer in the world.
Oh, that's so sweet. So he's in dad mode now. Him being away for the first time as a father. It's hard for him. So we're really good at that. And also, I tell bands all the time, like, if you're on tour, especially your long tour, you got to have your own thing to do. You got to get to the venue and scatter. You into fitness, go on a run.
Yeah.
You like record stores, go to a record store.
Yes.
You like coffee, find the coffee shop.
There you go.
Everybody needs to have their own thing to do, to just take a walk. Because even if it's not like you're mad at your band members, you just need some quiet.
Space is good.
Space is good.
with that in mind,
Yeah.
with the longevity, I'm going to ask that snarky Jeremy make an appearance for just a second.
Oh,
as
okay.
I talked to Walter Schreifels last year, and I was complimenting Walter on, he has every right to be a jaded, old punk guy, and he seems to make an active choice not to be. I am curious, you being on the road 15 years, pretty much 15 years straight at this point, do you look at newer bands that have come up in the last few years with the advent of TikTok and a wider acceptance of hardcore and, critics out there not named Ian Cohen now suddenly embracing the genre, and you go, man, these kids have it so easy?
Okay, you want snarky Jeremy, though.
I do.
Because the thing is like, I don't know what hurdles they're going through. So, right, they're way more connected to, like, I don't know how TikTok works. But I imagine there's things in that stress them out and make them feel bad about themselves in the sense of like, oh, this one didn't get as much blah, blah, like likes or whatever. I don't know what that is. It's not my business. So I don't know if that's like something that weighs on them in a way that is hard. Okay. But I think every band should have to know what it's like to have a hard tour. Am I jealous of a band that's first tour is on a bus? Fuck yeah. I'm very jealous of that. That's amazing. Good for you, But it'd be nice if everyone has at least one tour where they have to sleep on hardwood floors and all of that. But I know if they have the opportunity, why would they?
Of course. Yeah.
I remember, wasn't it like Olivia Rodrigo? Like, she had blown up, but then was like, I don't want my first tour to be in arenas. And then
she was doing the
tour.
like here, because I know you've played this venue. She did the Aragon 2 nights here for her first tour, which is 4,500.
Still huge,
but she could have done 20,000.
Yeah, and that's something I think is cool. Like, that's cool. I mean, it's still a huge level, huger than we'll ever experience. But like, that made me say, that's a cool person.
I think she's cool.
Yeah.
I think she's, as somebody that works in alt-rock radio, I listen to some of her songs and I go, she is doing alt-rock better than a lot of alt-rock bands right now.
There you go.
She's cool. I like her.
There you go.
Final note on the longevity thing, just because I ask a lot of bands this sort of question, and I'm curious now because you seem to have such a specific vision for what you want this band to be and the way that everything is going to look and the way that everything is going to sound. As we head into 2025, what more do you want out of Touché Amoré? Do you have goals? Is it just to put out good music and cool vinyl? Is there a new height that you want to hit? Do you want to go viral on TikTok? What is it that you're looking for this deep into a run as a band?
I don't mean to sound like a fucking humble guy, but I mean, I've been saying for so long, it's like, I came from a family that never traveled. You know what I'm saying? Like, I never thought I would see New York City. I never thought I would see London. I never thought I'd see any of these places. To be talking to someone in Chicago who works at a radio station all that stuff is still crazy to me. So I never thought about what else is past this. You know what I'm saying? I mean, to have one of our songs get that TikTok bump, though, doesn't seem too bad. Shout out to our boys in
Super Heaven.
Basement and Super Heaven. I mean, God bless.
The Basement thing is so crazy because, like, I've seen Basement before. It was like, yeah, they're good.
They just sold out the Palladium in Hollywood. Yeah. I'm so happy for them.
No, they played Riot Fest this year. The crowd they drew at Riot Fest was enormous. And I was like, I saw these dudes open for the Front Bottoms like 6 years ago, and it was just like, oh, there's cool basements here.
I'm telling you, yeah, like we've known them since pretty much maybe a year after they started and love them dearly, and it just makes me so happy to see that.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
The Super Heaven thing is crazy because they played here last year.
Yeah.
And like when I go to shows, I try really hard not to like, I don't want to be the main character. I don't want to be the side character. I just want to go and enjoy the show. But like you go to enough shows, you see the same faces over and over again.
Yeah.
The Super Heaven show was like, I don't know any of these people. These are all, like, I'm 25. They all felt like people younger than me that exclusively found out about this band through TikTok. And it was crazy because they were so into choreo and then Super Heaven. And then the TikTok song came on and it was like the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. It was nuts. I've never seen a show like that.
It's amazing.
It really is.
It's amazing. And, they have another band called Webbed Wing, which I know is like kind of at least Taylor and Jake's focus. But the fact that they could just be like, I'll just put on the suit on the Super Heaven pants for a minute and just go like play some sold out shows.
Exactly.
It's really, really cool. So good for all of them.
Good for all of them.
If you work at TikTok, I don't know. I don't think that's how it works, but
I don't know how it works because these clips go up there and sometimes they do super well and sometimes they don't.
That's the thing. It has to happen organically, and that's what every fucking band and label needs to figure out. When you see bands and labels desperately trying to make things go, knock that off.
I will always give Ian from Militarie Gun credit because you can tell he's trying, but he's trying in Ian's vision. And so I'm like, all right, this is this is crazy. Like, he's really into going viral, but I think it's kind of cool because it's Ian doing it and not the powers that be. I, of course, am a victim of an Ian Shelton viral video in which he roasted me, and it has hundreds of thousands of views on TikTok, and it doesn't make me feel good sometimes when I close my eyes. Nevertheless, final question before we go.
Yeah.
I was texting one of the homies that's super into you guys. I said, what should I talk to Jeremy about? And shout out to the homie Keith. He threw me an interesting question. What's the last song you heard that you went, man, I wish I wrote that? Because I always think back to, like, Patrick Kinlan is always like, I just want to write a Bonnie Prince Billy song, and I'm unable to. He's like, I'd be super happy with Self-Defense Family if I could just figure out a way to write a song that sounds like Bonnie Prince Billy. And I'm curious if you have any of those in your chamber. If you're like, oh, man, I could have done that. If I just would have done this, maybe would have gone viral on TikTok.
Man, that's a good question. Is it lame if I open up my Spotify really
No,
quick?
not at all. This is a frequent thing on the show is people rifling through their Spotify as I ask them either what they've been listening to or what they wish their band sounded like or whatever else they do. And now I'm so curious to know what is on your Spotify, as I'm sure I am not alone in that quest.
Okay, so the late John Prine, huge John Prine fan, his record that he wrote, that he put out just before he passed, it's called The Tree of Forgiveness. There's a song in it called Summer's End. It'll break your damn heart.
Really?
It'll break your damn heart. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
That sounds terrifying to listen to because I already get the, like, I'm like welling up thinking about what it could conjure up inside of me, some memories that I've buried.
It's a beautiful song. I almost think that Phoebe Bridgers covered it, maybe on like a Spotify Sessions or something like that even, but it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. And the lyrics are...
Well, Jeremy, I can't thank you enough for your time.
Pleasure.
Congratulations on the new record. Congratulations on everything. Welcome back to Chicago again. We're happy to have you here. Before we go, you do a million things. You have a great podcast. You're at a great label. You're in a great band. We're going to get Hesitation Wounds to Chicago. We'll talk about it off camera. I've been waiting for it for 6 years now. We're going to make it happen. But where can the people of Q101 find you? What do you want people to know?
If you want to find me on social media, most things are Jeremy X Bolm, especially Letterboxd. You know what? Find me on Letterboxd because that's the only social media that doesn't make me want to take a long walk off of a short pier.
Jeremy, thank you so much. I'm on Instagram. You can follow me on Instagram. Feel free to, @_Case Lowe, CaseLowe. New episodes of A Case For every Monday. We've had Knocked Loose. We've had Military Gun. We've had Spiritual Cramp. Shout out Michael from Spiritual Cramp for booking this interview, as he continues to do for me. And everybody, thank you so much for watching. Jeremy, you're the man.
Appreciate you.